Welcome one and all, it's time for another, especially red hot spicy, sizzling edition Kings of War tournament report. Extra hot and spicy this time because we are in another heat wave. And very hot, potentially very sweaty. All wargaming tournaments have potential for that kind of thing, so we'll see if the heat gets ramped up in these 5 games of 3,000 points. Kings of War, as you can see, the Abyssal Dwarfs there, in all their glory. I'm going to talk through my list first of all, after actually I tell you a couple of things about the event. So, this is the first time that BritCon has taken place in Nottingham, and it seems to be following me around the country, so very happy about that. It's one of the few 2-day events that I can definitely attend, because it's so close. And there's my army, by the way. And I think it was supposed to be about 20 players. There may have been one dropout. So 3,000 points, obviously interesting because it unlocks an extra slot for things that normally you're limited to 3. At 3,000 points you can take 4. So are we going to see 4 of the same big flying dragon? Are we going to see 4 of the same war machine? 4 of the same hero of some description? We'll find out. There are also 4 special characters to choose from, 4 different gods, if you will, that have their own unique stats and abilities. And in fact, I'll just grab the sheet for the one I've chosen, because I had it printed out. It's right behind me here. Just grabbing that. Okay, got it. So, my list, 3,000 points. What do I normally do when making a list that's this vast for Kings of War? Because generally, I don't have enough to spam the really powerful, expensive units. I just don't have that many models. And actually, this is kind of hanging off the screen a little bit, this picture. Let me just see to that. I'm sure I can fix that so you can see a bit more of what's going on. Let's see here. Might be able to zoom that a bit. Tell you what, let's get the thumbnail up again, and then I will change the size of this so hopefully you can see the whole thing. There we go, you can actually see my army now, and in fact there's a bit that you can't see, so let's just try and shrink that a bit. There you go. So there's my army. What do I normally do? Well, at this points level the temptation is to just throw in as many ridiculous toys as possible. That's not a temptation I'm going to fall into though, because I know for a fact that looking at the list of players attending this event, there's no way that it's not going to be a complete filth fest. Lots of the high ranked players in attendance for this one. So I thought I'm not going to fall into the usual trap of bringing toys. I'm not going to throw in some big inefficient flyer. The Abyssal Dwarf one I don't rate particularly highly for the points. There are a lot better ones out there in the game, in my opinion. Fun things like the Grotesque Champion, which is also not particularly efficient when you compare it to the Half-Breed Champion, for example, who's very similar, but just a bit more versatile. And I don't have enough golems to go for full-on golem spam, which would be the obvious way to go at this point level. The other way would be allies, and I did have a successful run with allies at the Birmingham Bull Run a few months ago, with trolls being allied into the Abyssal Dwarf list. I could have done that, but I decided I was going to go pure for this one. No allies at all. So, instead I decided to make up the points with some units that I'm giving another chance to see if they perform. So, heavy mortars. I've never had a chance to run 4 of them in a list before, so why not give that a try? So from the video thumbnail you'll see I've painted up a Charnox who's temporarily attached to this 50mm base. So at the moment he's a mortar until I can put him in a unit, because I doubt I'm ever going to play Vanguard because I don't think it's very good. And that golem is also a mortar. I think he's also not glued onto his base because I was waiting to do more golems to put him in the unit. Mortar there, mortar there. So I'm going to give them a chance. They're slightly not quite as tasty as they were before. The issue I have with them now is not so much the fact that they can suffer from cover penalties, when you're shooting at a unit that's mostly in terrain. My main issue is the fact that they came down to piercing 2 from 3. Because what you want to do with a mortar is shoot at something defense 5, like trolls or a lot of ogre units, and most knights tend to be defense 5. The things you want to shoot because they've got medium nerve, and potentially you can do something to them with just a few hits. Especially if you've got a couple of mortars, land a couple of hits, you end up doing, let's say you get 6 or 7 damage on them, and you've got shattering applied, so you've got a decent chance of wavering that unit or really weakening it for the future. But the reason that was so good at piercing 3 is because most things you're shooting at will be defense 5, if that's your preference. That way you're wounding on 2s, re-rolling 1s with the vicious. So with it going down to piercing 2, anytime you're shooting at defense 5 now, those 2s that you previously would have been wounds are now just discarded. You don't even get to re-roll those ones. So you're way less guaranteed on the wounds, on the hits that you do get through. So I'm not so keen on them usually, but I'm going to give 4 a try here. The other unit I'm going to give another run out to, even though I've not quite arranged them perfectly for this picture. You can see the unit doesn't line up. Is the Decimator Horde, because I've got a lot of points and I need unit strength, so that's another reason they're in there. Instead of a big fly that only provides 1, we throw in a horde of Decimators that are, of course, unit strength 4, which could be very useful, and throwing Blessing of the Gods on them to make them elite is doubly effective really, because you're elite for their shooting and also for the combat that they will inevitably end up in, because they have to get so close to the enemy to actually shoot them. So they're going to be in combat, you're going to get to fight things, so why not add elite to that as well? So that explains the presence of the units that are previously not very popular in my lists, so we'll see how they do. The rest of the list, we've got a horde of Black Souls with the Hammer of Measured Force, because why not? I don't believe in taking too many spells with this list, so don't want to have to boost anyone's crushing strength with a Bane chant, for example. Why not Hammer of Measured Force? Gargoyles. I painted up a second troop of them, so 2 troops of gargoyles. I've just about got away with 1 at lower point levels. I would have preferred to have 2 a long time ago, I think, but at 3,000 points, I didn't really want to go in there with just 1 chaff unit. So I got a second one painted up, 2 of those ready to go and park themselves in front of the enemy and prevent multi-charges and so on. We've got a half-breed regiment. I don't think they're very popular in Abyssal Dwarf lists. Not necessarily very optimal. They die very easily. Wavered quite easily as well. But they may be my favourite models in the Abyssal Dwarf line, so that's why they always make it in there. I always try and make a spot for them. No upgrades though, because it was a bit tight for points in this list with some of my choices. 2 Obsidian Golem Hordes. No upgrades on them. Early versions of this list did involve putting the Brew of Sharpness on one of the Golem Hordes, but that list did not make it, didn't make the cut, so just 2 unupgraded hordes. We've got the Horde of Grotesques. They do have Potion of the Caterpillar, because they're only hitting on 4s, so you don't want to be making hindered charges with them, and especially they're quite reliant on that Thunderous Charge too as well, so you don't want to be reducing or losing that. Then we've got the 4 Mortars, of course, and on the back of my army list here, we've got the Greater Obsidian Golem, right there. We've got Hellfane with no upgrade, so it does have the Brutal Aura, for dwarfs only, so there's very few units in the army that are going to benefit from that. No upgrade, so it's not inspiring. We've got the Ironcaster, and just to try something out, because I wouldn't say fully won over exactly by Mind Fog from running Night Stalkers, but I thought it seemed like a useful spell, and my logic was, with this army, if I'm shooting things with a mortar, it's possible I could do loads of damage to them and then roll badly on the nerve test, and they're going to be sitting way on the other side of the table, and I don't have any units to capitalise on the fact that they're heavily damaged. I don't have anything that can swoop in there and finish them off if the gargoyles aren't on the hand for that particular mission. So I thought, why not add a bit of Mind Fog to the Ironcaster, so that I can force them to take a nerve test with shattering. So if they're already damaged, 36-inch range, you can just aim at something, potentially finish them off. sounds logical to me. So I decided not to have Fireball on him because I needed the points. So I just gave him Surge, because Mind Fog 3 and Surge is cheaper than Surge and Fireball. So it needed the points. Abyssal Half-Breed Champion, who is over here. And he has the Scythe of the Harvester, which I'm a big fan of on this guy. Extra D3 attacks against infantry and heavy infantry, which are things that typically I'm more likely to struggle bringing down, because I've got a lot of crushing strength in this army, a lot of piercing as well. So extra attacks against crummy infantry are always welcome. Then we've got Susan, who is, of course, a bit of a mainstay in my list. Don't leave home without Susan, although lacking Vicious, she's one of the few things in the army that does not have Vicious. Her and the Gargoyles pretty much are the only things. So those are my flyers. I've got 3 flying units, and you'll notice there's a chariot here as well. That is my special event hero, which is Frasier, Goddess of Love, Magic and War. So this is the one I chose because there was another one on a chariot, and the reason I wanted to use one of those two was mainly because I had this model ready for an Easter themed tournament a few years ago, or a couple of years ago before the pandemic started, and then that got cancelled. So the model, the project, I decided not to continue with it until now. So that's why it's manned, it's pulled, should I say, by a terrible, evil, big toothy bunny. And the 2 chariot options in the special characters for this event, one of them gave a vicious aura, which was totally pointless for me. So I thought, why not take this one, the special rules that this one has. Let's see, so it's speed 7, hits on 3+ with 4 attacks, so not the most fighty. Defense 6+ though, which is nice, nerve 13-15, so nice and survivable, fits in with my high defense army. Crushing strength 1, nimble, regeneration 4+, which I think I probably forgot to do throughout the event. Thunderous charge 1, and then most exciting parts, very inspiring, rallying 1, and Radiance of Life. So Radiance of Life gives an extra wound back. It basically heals 1 wound to your nearby units. So hanging around with golems, anything that's defense 6 getting a wound back is way more beneficial than giving a wound back to, let's say, a zombie. So that could work very well in my favour, so I thought that was a good combo. So that's the one I've gone for. We'll see if any of the others perform better than mine though. So let's go into game 1, shall we? And up against Basileans, and the scenario is Raise. I believe it's called Raise, this one. It's the one where you've got 3 objectives on the opposite side of the table that you have to control and then destroy to earn points. And then you get 2 points if you hold the one in the middle at the end. You can't destroy that one, you can only destroy the ones on your opponent's side. And the list I'm up against is very wingy. There's 4 enormous flyers, and immediately, as I put my army down on the table and saw what I was up against, I thought, you know what, I probably could do with more speed in my army. And if I get first turn and shoot something off, that's great. I'm very capable of shooting off a big flyer in turn 1. The terrain doesn't necessarily help that a lot. There's quite a lot of terrain. The flyers are huge though, so I'll be able to see them over a lot of it. So if I get turn 1, I could potentially kill one of them. That would be really nice. Let's see what's in this list though. So I'm going to go straight to the picture of the army list actually, because it is here. So 4 regiments of Paladin Foot Guard. Standard infantry, decent, not too great. Elohai, obviously really juicy, and Brew of Strength on this one, Boots of Striding on the other one, very fast and scary. 4 high paladins on dragons. So let's have a look at the stats here. What makes it better than the Abyssal Dwarf dragon? Well, for a start, it's got more attacks, I think. I think the Abyssal Dwarf one, or does it have the same? Does the Abyssal Dwarf one have 10? I can't remember now, I don't use it very much. So what makes it better? Let's see. The Dragon's Breath. That's a pretty decent little attack there. Pushing 3, juicy. Iron Resolve, very nice. Headstrong, very nice. So you get those in there. I think some of those special rules are from the upgrades here. Simon confirmed the Abyssal Dwarf one has 9 attacks, so there you go, more attacks. And I don't just look at it as having one more, because often when you charge these things in, you want to get them in the flank anyway, so it's multiplying that deficit. So immediately looks better. Look at the special rules you can have on it. Really good. And when I see Iron Resolve on everything, I immediately think, actually, my mortars, the way mortars are now, they're really good for plinking wounds onto units. They're not good for just destroying things in one go like they used to be. So when there's Iron Resolve at play, that means they're going to be Iron Resolving a wound back whenever they pass the nerve check. So Iron Resolve is not what I want to see, and I'm seeing it on most units in this army, if not all of them. I'm also seeing Radiance of Life, and there is heal. There is a heal option in here somewhere as well. Yeah, there we go. So Samachris, Mother of Phoenixes, has heal 5. In addition to some Fireball, but Radiance of Life and heal 5, so all that can easily negate mortar damage. There's Julius, Dragon of Heaven, who is a large infantry hero who also flies. Both these fly actually, so there's lots of flying, Elohai as well, so most of them fly. And lots of special rules. Very few units though. So can I use that to my advantage? We shall see, because I've got 5 more units. We've got equal unit strength though. My army is very, very low unit strength for 3,000 points, but the same as this army. So let's look at the deployment then. So I won't remember which dragon is which, but I think they're all pretty much the same. Do they have any difference at all? I think they're all almost identical. They've just got slightly different upgrades. So one's got Staying Stone, one's got Healing Brew. Yeah, so not much of a difference, just slightly different upgrades on them. So, there they are. There's one over on this flank, there's 2 in the centre, and 1 over there. Those 2 are shielded by a couple of the Paladin units. The Elohai are here, I believe, or is that Elohai? We'll find out in a second. So I think that is Elohai. Yeah, the ghosts on the slightly wider bases are Elohai, so that's those ones there. Those are Paladins. And there's the other Elohai, and there's more Paladins. So they're all ghosts of Basileans, basically. And my setup, on this flank, I've got my Grotesques with Gargoyles behind ready to jump in front, stop them being charged. Susan for backup. In the middle we've got the 2 Golem Hordes, as you'd expect, backed up by the Ironcaster and the Radiance of Life Chariot. Greater Golem there as well. I've got quite a compact setup here, because I don't want to be flanked. And there's so much speed against me, I want something behind my lines because I'm not going to choose the fights here. So I'm going to get hit by something. If I happen to die, I want support behind. Hellfane over on this flank with Gargoyles behind the Decimators there, 2 mortars. I'm not worried about the hills because they're not going to block line of sight to the dragons. And this mortar is not actually facing that way, I just put it backwards for some reason on the table for accidental comedy. Turn 1, so I lose the first turn roll off, which means that the Basileans are going to immediately start pushing up as fast as they can, with the dragons in behind. And I'm very concerned about those dragons. I'm also concerned about the scenario and the fact my opponent's gone first, because I couldn't afford to spread out and fill the entire side of my board, because it'd be stretched too thin, I'd be giving up flanks, and I'd have to put units on the front line that I would not want on the front line, that could get charged and just killed in one hit. Half-breeds, for example. Or things that could be hit and made a lot more useless, such as the Decimators. So from turn 2 you can destroy tokens, so I'm just giving up on that one. I'm not even going to bother trying to save that token. These 2 are okay, and I'm hoping I can push through and claim and destroy those 2 and hold this one. So I'm really focusing my attention on this part of the table. And my plan to prevent the flanking manoeuvre of those is to not advance super far up with these units on this side here. Kind of maybe more of a diagonal kind of approach there, and use the Gargoyles to block things off there. And if anything wants to come and land and charge down here, Decimators maybe can get involved. But overall, I don't think my list is really made, it's not equipped to deal with this much flying, which I'm seeing as a fatal flaw immediately. In fact, I knew that as soon as I saw the army lists for the event, that there was a lot more flying spam in a lot of the lists. than I was hoping for. So we'll see how much of it I get to face in this event. So, turn 1 for me, because they've advanced up, so I do get to charge things. And my thinking here is, on this flank, I can't really afford to just sit back and let them move up onto these objectives and take them. So I've got to go forwards, because if they burn all 3 of those objectives, I'm really up against it, because I've not got much chance of reaching that one. I want to get those 2, so it means I can't let these 2 be burnt. So I send Susan straight into some paladins, straight into the Elohai, that is, and the gargoyles just park themselves there to block a charge into the grotesques. The mortar does 1 wound to a dragon, which is completely pointless. In fact, it did 2, and then Iron Resolve would have got 1 back. So it's still pointless because there's Radiance of Life around, there's healing. And yeah, the mortars, they have to go big or nothing at all, I'm afraid. And doing 2 wounds is basically nothing against this list. So the Hellfane turns that way, because it's not in charge range of anything over there. And I've sent the Half-Breed Champion charging into that unit of paladins, because why not? Might as well make a start on it. And people often underestimate these little heroes with 6 or 7 attacks, and they can actually hurt little infantry regiments like that. Especially if you can waver them, that can be really annoying sometimes. Not so much in this situation because they're not blocking up a flyer in this circumstance. But we've got gargoyles protecting the flank of the decimators, and these 2 mortars do a bit more to that dragon. 4 wounds left on there, which you would think is okay, and this one does it wound that one? So with the mortars, you can put them all close together so you can shoot at the same target, but that also means that if one of them gets attacked and killed by anything that flies, then it's going to be easy meat for it to just mop up all the rest of them. So maybe against this list I should have thought that my opponent didn't have enough resources to put something into mopping up mortars for the whole game, because there just aren't many units. So I think he'd rather just soak up the mortar hits across multiple units and then just Radiance of Life and heal it back. So maybe sticking them all in a line right next to each other in the middle and focusing them all on 1 dragon. But even in the first turn here, the combined damage I did on all the dragons wouldn't have been enough to kill 1. Turn 2 for my opponent. And the grotesques left themselves in charge range of 1 dragon, which I was quite happy to do because they're not overloaded with attacks. And I thought, okay, they'll take the first hit, won't die. They'll hit it back. I might be able to join in with something else. Maybe Susan will turn around and join in the combat. Could maybe take it out. They've got a lot more attacks than the dragon has. But I had to get them up there to guard the objective, so I didn't just want to sit back with them. Another dragon goes into golems, which again, not concerned about. This character here, and there's no way I'm going to remember which is which because they're just ghosts, sits in front of the Black Souls. This dragon goes into the gargoyles, which are on the flank protecting the decimators. So they've kind of done their job there, and if somehow they get comedy double 1, that would be great. The Elohai, it looks like they charge into the Hellfane, and this dragon is sitting up on the hill, making sure it can't be attacked by anything. And paladins into the golems. So I've been engaged and kind of surrounded here, but that was always going to happen with the amount of speed that I was up against and the compact block that I built. So we'll see how it goes from here. Well, the gargoyles are dead. Expected. Hellfane takes 8 wounds, which is a pretty decent return for those guys, considering they're not exactly overloaded with crushing strength. And, wait a minute. Did I actually leave it to be charged in the flank? Did I accept the Hellfane being charged in the flank by this thing? I don't specifically remember doing that. But it seems to be dead. So I must have accepted that it was going to get flanked by something and let it get killed. So Hellfane's dead. And I may have been without a choice, actually. Because if I didn't advance, I would have just been giving up all my objectives to be burnt. And once I advanced, I had to choose something to flank, so I think it was that. 4 damage on the Black Soul Horde. So yeah, I wasn't very confident starting off looking at the army lists. I didn't see a way that I was going to accomplish things against this army. And then with this scenario and not getting turn 1, I was not confident at all. As expected here, the grotesques do not die, but they do get wavered. So there's that plan gone as well, down the drain. And here, that was the other gargoyles, they're dead, but that's fine. And Susan takes a few wounds, but then becoming wavered is really annoying. So 10 attacks on that thing, and it does 8 wounds, which is obviously outstanding. 1 damage on golems, which is nothing, but they're boxed in. Dragons does 4 wounds there, obviously not enough. They waver the paladins, waver the half-breed champion. So it's not looking great, but obviously I can strike back now. So what am I going to do on turn 1? Well, Susan decides to have another go at them to try and maybe finish them off, because there's no point attacking this thing on her own. 7 wounds, not enough. Mortars. Well, they do mortar off. They mortar off this. Not only them though, because there was a dragon there, but I shot it with everything I had. So all the mortars and the decimators. So that dragon is gone. So that's not bad at all. And I'm going to have to eat some flank attacks though. Over here. Did I accomplish anything else that's worth mentioning here? So I obviously chewed through the things that were blocking up these 2 units. And hoping that that unit can hold on an extra turn, and then I can get into the flank of this dragon maybe. Half-breed champion is doing a job holding them up still, so I'm not going to get clogged up by too many things there, but there are flanks coming in. I'm limited in how I can move these 2 units because there's things in the way of them. And yeah, so I'm just going to accept murder there. Let's see, Donald says, off topic, but I wanted to pop in and say I got my copy of Dead Zone 3.0 after seeing the coverage on your channel. Thanks for what you do. Well, I hope you said to Mantic that you purchased Dead Zone version 3 entirely because of my content, and that they should be paying me probably 50% of the profit they made from it as a result. I think that's fair. Hello to everyone in the chat, by the way. Drop in any comments. If you spot any mistakes, drop those in as well. That's always fun on a live stream. So we've got John, we've got Simon, we've got Sean. Tim is watching this later, apparently. Unacceptable. And we've got Matt in there as well, in addition to Donald. So, moving on to turn 3 for the Basileans. So the grotesques are going to be under attack again. They didn't regen very much. Susan is going to get murdered by all this. Double charged by the Elohai and the Paladins. I feel the need to keep telling you what the units are because they're all ghosts, so it's easy to lose track. This unit's just going to burn off this objective now. And golems get flanked by the Elohai, I think that is. So you can see the golems across the hill. And the dragon goes into the flank of the decimators. Nobody flanked the Black Souls. They feel left out. So, the character there gets in the way of my golems, so no flank options there on this creature. And the other hero is moving around. There you can see human hand there. Very exciting. And also a picture of the fan that I took that clips onto tables. I saw 2 or 3 of the fans there, but I think mine was the only one that actually attaches to the side of the table. And it's actually attached to the shelf next to me right now. And it's pretty quiet, so it shouldn't be picked up by the microphone. Because we are in a heat wave. Nice blurry picture of the dragon killing off the grotesques, who very unfortunately decided to get wavered. So my choice of putting Potion of the Caterpillar on them and not some kind of way of avoiding being wavered comes back to bite me. And another blurry picture. So I think because it's in direct sunlight suddenly, this table at the moment, which was very hot for the record, then the camera takes a bit longer to focus on things, so there's a couple of blurry shots. So Susan's dead. Golems are not dead. Decimators are not dead. Black Souls are not dead. So the centre is looking okay. The scenario is not looking okay, because I don't see how I'm going to reach these tokens particularly. Reach these objectives that I need to burn off. But not looking too terrible over there. And those golems are dead though. So, still looking okay. I positioned these guys, obviously with them being dead in mind, but now they're not dead, so they're just getting in the way. And they're going to struggle to pivot to do anything either. So what we do establish, this is actually an interesting rules query, so we weren't sure if they could countercharge if they can't physically fit into the gap to do so. And I think we established that you can't, so what I had to do to allow the countercharge was move the mortar out of the way so they could physically fit in that gap. And the mortar had just enough movement to get to about here to get out of the way. So you'll see that in a moment. He gets wavered again. Half-breed champion. Oh no, he doesn't. He gets double wand this time. So that's nice. And token burned off there. Token burned off there. So 2 victory points to my opponent at the moment. So I don't have any yet. And I'm kind of penned in after not getting the first turn. So I'm going to struggle to reach any of them. But I've still got a chance of holding the centre. Turn 3 for me. So mortar doesn't do a lot. I think each time I'm just doing 1 wound and then they radiance, or no, they iron resolve them back each time. So golems into the dragon, big golem into this thing, doesn't do too much. Chariot into the Alohi, and half-breed champ into the rear, doesn't do much. You can see there the mortar has to get out of the way. Decimators in there, do a bit of damage to stop it flying, and going to hold it up. These guys have turned around to look at it as well. Was that a good idea? Should I have started making a beeline for objectives with the Black Souls instead? Maybe, but if that thing's alive, it's just going to kill everything in the middle, and it's pointless claiming objectives anyway, because I'm still going to lose if this thing gets across and gets into the flank or rear of my golem units over there. So I thought I'd try and kill that. They're very slow anyway, so the chances of them reaching one of those 2 objectives quite slim, especially when they'll have things looking at them probably. So this mortar, which hasn't been turned around yet, doesn't do much. Turn 4. And the mortar is being chased down now, which is still facing the wrong way, which is quite comical. Chased down by the paladins. Back into combat here, so these are the Alohi, and that's one of the heroes. Lots of manoeuvring going on. This dragon doesn't want to be fighting anymore. Paladins into the half-breed champ. Alohi back into the chariot. The dragon stays attacking that unit of decimators. And there'll be radiance of lifing all their wounds back. Decimators are dead finally. Half-breed champ wavered again. And the chariot is also dead. Didn't take that much damage, but oh well. Oh, by the way, there's also a 1 dice per game reroll in this tournament, except neither me nor my opponent remembered it existed. Because it was in a really obscure section of the tournament pack, so no one saw that it was there until after this game. So we didn't realise we had it, so of course we didn't use it. So Decimator's dead. The chariot and the golems are dead there, next to him. He's not dead. But obviously it's looking bad. I don't see how I'm possibly going to win the scenario here. The only hope I would have would be to pile things into the centre, but if I do that I'm going to lose this objective. Which wouldn't matter if I have the centre then, because I'd be 3-2 down. It would get me more tournament points, which after looking at the pack at the end of game 1 also reveals that you get bonus tournament points for victory points you get, which I didn't really look at. I should tell you that I made my army list for this tournament right before going away for a week, and then as soon as I got back I was basically packing the army and going to the tournament the next morning. So I didn't have a great deal of reading of the pack, to be honest. So I may have changed 1 or 2 of my strategies in this game and tried to score victory points rather than purely going for an all or nothing win, if you will. So not much exciting going on. I've lost most of my units now. Turn 4. And I've used a lot of time on my clock though, because I was doing a lot of positioning in the first couple of turns. So golem against the Alohi. Not too much damage done. The Great Obsidian Golem, it's really good. Doesn't have that many attacks though. If you can get it into the flank, it's great. And you're slightly less likely to get into flanks nowadays. because of the way that withdrawing from combat works. So unless you can finish an inch clear of things, you can't do the cheeky rotate 90 degrees, move forwards and then surge trick anymore. If there are other units around, then you can't always do that. So I think that has actually got weaker as a result. Because of its square base, it used to be perfect for being an inch away from the enemy after they backed up after combat, just turning on the spot and going directly sideways and surging into something next to you. Not so easy to do anymore, so got worse, I would say. Especially when you compare it to the extra attacks of the Golem Horde and the extra unit strength of the Golem Horde. It's still got a place though. Black Souls into the dragon, waver it, which obviously isn't enough at this point. I need to kill things rapidly. And the mortars, again, are just failing horribly in this game, just occasionally doing 1 wound to things, or 2 wounds, and then iron resolving 1 wound back. So that's how the clocks are looking. I'm not concerned though, because the last few turns are going to be really quick. Turn 5 Basileans, double charge into the half-breeds who failed to kill that unit on the previous turn, which is really disappointing. The only reason they're in the list is to kind of one-shot a unit of about that size. That's what you want them in there for. You want them to kill something like that. That's why they're in the list. If they're going in as part of a multi-charge, then there are probably better options to be in the army. If you look at something like, for example, Lesser Obsidian Golems, who don't have the same one-hit potential as these guys, because these hit on 3s, but they're going to stick around about 8 times longer than this unit. Okay, and over here, the Greater Golem has been multi-charged. The mortar over there is dead. Black Souls are not dead. And everything's dying. I can't even remember what was in there now to die. Oh, it was the half-breed champion, so he's dead. And was anything else there? Okay, the half-breeds are dead, obviously, because they got flanked by a dragon. Greater Golem's still alive, and I've got mortars and an Ironcaster left. So he's hanging in there, but obviously it's a loss at this point. Turn 5, Golem manages to kill the Elohai, which is nice. Black Souls finish off that dragon. Mortars do nothing again. Turn 6, Black Souls are dead, 1 million damage on them. And Golem's dead. My turn 6, mortars do nothing. And that's the end of the game. No turn 7. So obviously it was going to be a loss. It was obviously going to be a loss, I thought, since I saw the army lists. And when I saw them on the table, my thoughts were confirmed. And then not getting the first turn, and probably because obviously I've had no practice with this list and wrote the list and then didn't look at it for a week before the event, I would, if I was going back, I would deploy slightly differently. I wouldn't spread out to fill the whole table, because I explained why I think that was a bad idea, because I'd be having things on the front line that would die horribly to a stiff breeze. I would probably bunch the mortars up in a spot where they could see a few things and try and focus fire with them and kill something in the first turn. It wouldn't have worked in this game because they didn't get enough hits anyway to kill anything, but I would have tried that. And so far I'm not too pleased with the way my list is working. I think it doesn't stack up to some of the hardcore lists at 3,000 points, because you can fit a lot of filth into 3,000 points. And I don't feel like I've put enough filth in. I don't think mortars are any kind of filth anymore to be writing about. So I took some pictures of all the armies that were out on display. Some of them are kind of jammed onto their tray like this, but some of them are presented nicely. So lots of flyers around, as you can see. Got 4 flyers in this army. This one, I'm not entirely sure what this army is. Not sure what it's representing. It could be undead. Could be undead. I'm not sure. So this army was packed into its box, so I thought I'd take a picture of the box. Then we've got Lots of halflings. Is this halfling? No, these are goblins. Goblins on this side of the table, halflings on that side. So some nice goblins there. I'll go around to the other side in a moment. Order of the Green Lady. Nice display board there. Very colourful, eye-catching. We've got some Night Stalkers, and there are more Night Stalkers on the other side of the table. I wasn't sure if they were all from the same army, because they were spread out. And we've got Abyssals, I believe that would be. We've got some Orcs. That is a lot of Orc. These are Rift-forged Orcs. There's a lot of Orc meat there. A very high amount of unit strength in that army. We've got Salamanders. Again, nice and colourful. We've got the Herd. Those are the other Night Stalkers from the other side. They may be part of the same list. Here we've got Forces of Nature. Very, very nice display board there with a nice forest backdrop. Very pretty. And I can't remember, because you vote for 2 armies as your favourite painted army. I think this got one of my votes. There's the Halflings, with quite a few flyers in there as well. We've got Varangur. There are some flyers in here. There's the army I just faced, which is of course Basileans, allegedly. And lots of flyers there. We've got, I think these are Varangur as well. So not a huge amount flying in this one, as to be said. And then here we've got... what army is this? Kingdoms of Men. Okay, well, because I didn't know that, you can tell I'm not going to face this army, but it's very nicely painted. Then we've got what appears to be halflings. I can't confirm that for a fact, though. This could actually be the Free Dwarves. Have they got beards on them? Yeah, I think these are the Free Dwarves, actually. So, next game. I'm up against the hideous Varangur. So I'll see if I've got a picture of their list, and then I'll go back and show you the deployment. There we go. Varangur, 3,000 points. 4 regiments of Draugr, who are the not very good unit. Bit of chaff. Decent nerve, though, so you've got to chew through them. Then we've got Human Clansmen. And not bad. They're alright. Mounted Sons of Korgan, 2 regiments. One with Potion of the Caterpillar, one with Blessing of the Gods. Frostfang Cavalry, obviously very powerful. 3+, 30 attacks. Outrageous, but you do pay a hefty price for them. And 15, 17, so they're not really higher than any other cavalry, and you're paying a lot more for those million attacks that you have. Wild Charge as well. When I compare these to the closest thing I've got that would be equivalent, probably Grotesques are the same speed, and the Grotesques do not measure up well to this. I think Grotesques are a little bit cheaper, but I would pay more to have this unit, to be honest. This looks a lot better. Grotesques have slightly higher nerve, it has to be said. And regeneration. Snow Foxes, 3 regiments, which are represented by Nurglings in this army. So this is kind of a similar list to the army I played at a previous tournament that was the same army, which has some additions to it. It's got 3 Lords on Frostfang, which are obviously the ultimate unit in this game currently. They're the hotness, or the coldness as it were. And there's a Lord, very exciting, 2 Magus, one with Boomstick for Lightning Bolt 6, one with Lightning Bolt 4, they've got Drain Life, that one has anyway, and 2 Cavern Dwellers, who are just pretty cool monsters. So, decent amount of killing power in there, I would say. So, what is the scenario? Well, I can reveal by consulting the tournament group chat. Oh, there we go. So, game 2 is Dominate, which I like the sound of because it forces the enemy into a particular area, the middle, which means I only need to point my mortars at one area, the middle, and I only need to concentrate most of my army on one area, the middle. So that's nice. I accept. My setup though, I have spread out a little bit, but there's not much shooting coming at me, so certain things are hiding, but not too much. These are the Frostfangs, some knights. I think this is the god character, which is the chariot that gives vicious aura. There's some of the snow foxes, some more there. Cavern Dweller, Frostfang Lord, Draugr, Knights, Draugr. That's the human clansman. And Frostfang Lord next to a Cavern Dweller again, and there's the other Frostfang Lord. So on my side, I've got the Black Souls on this side on their own. So putting a unit with a lot of unit strength like that in Dominate out on the flank, this very slow unit, is that wise? Well, I'm not really hoping to get them back into the centre. I'm hoping they're just going to not be killed by chaff and hold things up over on that flank, because they're fairly survivable. I've got the flank of this Greater Golem protected by the building. Got the chariot on the front line this time, with golems and the Hellfane, gargoyles and decimators behind. And on this side, other gargoyles, half-breeds on the front line, gargoyles and grotesques. So we don't have a lot of flying stuff to worry about this time. Is there anything with fly here at all? Just the Lord with wings of honey maze, and I think the god character as well. Okay. So turn 1. And yet again, I do not get turn 1. Which I would like with mortars, obviously. I want to just kill things before they have a chance to move into cover. But alas, I lost the roll off again. So, moving up the Varangur. Going after my mortars. And just advancing into the centre a bit. Susan is shot a little bit, takes a wound. So what am I going to do on my turn? Advance? Yes. And look for mortar targets. So turn 1 for me. Black Souls, ignoring that unit. If they kill the mortar, I'll allow that to happen. These 2 mortars do a bit of damage to those knights, which is nice. Everything else moving up. So these 2 are moving up. I think they kill the snow foxes that were there, and they're covered by the 2 gargoyles, so they can't be charged. Yeah, you can see a better view of it from here. Frostfangs and the cavalry are going to have to spend a turn killing gargoyles. The grotesques and the half-breeds are safe. Susan killed the Lord in 1 round with the wings of honey maze, so that was a nice bonus. And there's the chariot, which can actually get round here to fight the grotesques, so that's what's going to happen. And I'd call that a decent first turn. Killed a couple of units, advanced. Turn 2 for Varangur. So mortar's going to die. Gargoyle's probably going to die. They're advancing up. I'm concerned about Lords on Frostfang. I don't want them to get a flank. Cavern Dwellers are also a concern. Knights are also a concern. Draugrs, Snow Foxes, I do not care about. But they can clog me up. I think the Hellfane may have shot some wounds onto that unit as well. So the grotesques get charged by the chariot. 3 damage. Gargoyle's dead. Gargoyle's dead, as expected. So we'll see if the half-breeds can do their thing and kill something in 1 hit this turn. That's what they're in there for. War Machine is dead. Snow Fox is now staring down my flank, but I'm not concerned because there are only Snow Foxes. So the Dominate zone is about to become really contested by all this meat and rock. Turn 2 for me. So the Golem goes into those Snow Foxes there. Half-breed champion goes into those human clansmen just to block up the enemy a bit. And Black Souls are moving up, threatening. Don't do much damage to the Snow Foxes, sadly, but they do get wavered, which is going to block up the enemy a bit. 2 damage onto that horde. So, Susan joins in with the half-breeds. Because if there's one thing they need, it's more attacks, because they've got 16. So, on average, they do a good job. But if they're all slightly below average, with that few attacks for cavalry, they're not performing the job you want. So Susan goes in the rear of the Frostfangs, and with that, that's enough to kill them. And then they overrun out of view of the knights. So, they're safe. The grotesques do not kill the chariot in one round, but quite happy. Turn 3, the knights and the chariot go back for the grotesques, and the snow foxes continue their voyage towards the mortars. Cavern Dweller and 2 Frostfang Lords charge into these golems in the middle, because they can nimble their way round the snow foxes there. So if they don't kill the unit, Hellfane into the flank. That would be my preference there. And these knights charge into the golems in the middle, which is here. So the golems being charged in the front I'm not concerned about. Those 3 together I am quite concerned about. But if they die, I've got backup behind. I've got the decimators. The one thing that they're good at is if somebody punches through the lines, torch them in the face. So Susan takes a bit of damage from shooting, I think. I think there might be someone up there doing it. The grotesques get wavered, which is a bit disappointing, but it's also disappointing for my opponent, I think, who would have been hoping to kill them in one go. Golems take a bit of damage there from knights, but not enough. Wavered half-breed champion, which is quite funny because it's holding up lots of units. Some damage dealt to the greater golem by this Frostfang Lord and Cavern Dweller there. I think that's what they are. And that unit of golems takes 9 damage and dies despite rallying and inspired being nearby, so that unit's dead. So, how's it looking right now? I've lost a bit of unit strength in the middle, but I've got quite a lot in there still to fight with. Turn 3, Black Souls charge into the Draugr, do a bit of damage. Greater Golem countercharges, Frostfang Lord does a bit of damage. And the Chariot charged into the Snow Foxes there. Killed them. The golems, which were here, kill off the knights. So those knights are finished off. And the decimators, I think, did wounds to one of these guys, but not enough. And the mortars don't... If they're not featured in a picture, obviously they didn't do a lot. And at the moment, I'm kind of regretting the Ironcaster having the Mind Fog spell. It's not really come up. Because the enemy are always advancing towards me, there's never been a case where the enemy is really far away on lots of wounds from the mortars. Because the mortars aren't doing lots of wounds for a start, and the enemy are advancing. So I'm regretting that spell choice. Also, I should probably accept that all the new spells in Kings of War are going to stay. Because previously in Kings of War, I would just ignore most of the spells that came in during the supplements. So things like your Alchemist's Curse that popped up during 2nd edition. All those spells that came in and then, or Blood Boil may have been the one that disappeared. I can't remember now. But spells would come in and then they'd go away again. So I learned to just ignore them and they would go away. But I don't think these new ones are going to disappear now. So I should probably actually read them at some point and see what they do. Because people are taking them and I'm having to ask what they do as they're being cast. So I should probably stop ignoring the new spells in hopes that they'll go away. So, on this side, Susan finished off the chariot there, and the grotesques have got 1 wound back with regeneration. The knights are still there. The half-breeds are just pivoting a bit, and what they want is to get towards the centre, obviously, to score. Turn 4. Another mortar is under attack from Snow Foxes. And look at this. The Hellfane is surrounded by feeble units. One of them in the flank. And Draugr countercharging the Black Souls. Knights have another go at the Grotesques. And 1 damage done to the Black Souls. Grotesques are finished off as expected. Hellfane is not killed as expected. And the Cavern Dweller who charged into the Decimators does 4 wounds. Frostfang Lord that charged into the golems in the middle gets them up to 6, doesn't kill them. The Greater Golem is now up to 13, but is not dead. Mortar is dead though. So these two titans are hanging on in there, surrounded by enemy units. We need backup, but it's not on the way yet because units are clogged. Turn 4 for me. The Draugr are killed by the Black Souls as they push into the middle. The Chariot flank charges the Frostfang Lord, who was there and is now dead. And I think I double charged with the golem as well. The half-breed champion wavers this guy. And I don't think I kill either of those in one round. Susan kills off the knights that were there, so that's nice. So I could ignore them with the half-breeds so they can start moving away. So the Great Obsidian Golem is obviously going to die, but I've got units now looking into the middle and it's looking very healthy. Turn 5 for the Varangur. So Snow Foxes into the flank of the Decimators. These are the ones that were fighting the Mortars earlier, and Cavern Dweller into the front. Frostfang Lord back into the Golems. This one, I think it countercharges the... or it's not countercharge, it's a fresh charge now into the Great Obsidian Golem. And those two units. The Hellfane is not actually facing this way, by the way. It's just that his nose is so big and it doesn't fit on the base because Mantic decided now that they've got Titan bases, they can just make the models twice as large as they need to be. And yeah, so he can't go into combat front ways because his nose is too big. So he's just facing this way for convenience. And if I was creating a game system and you had to go base to base with the enemy to fight them, I would decree that no model should ever extend beyond the edge of its own base. So if you want to make massive models, give them massive bases. How's that for a rule? And over here, Susan takes some more shooting damage. Hellfane takes a bit more damage. And the Golem did not die, apparently. But the Decimator Horde did die. So that's some solid unit strength gone. I'm feeling quite confident, though, because I've got some pretty worthwhile units for the scenario purposes left alive. I've got the Black Souls, who can definitely reach to get within range of this. I've got the half-breeds who are undamaged, so they can make their way there. I've got my Golems and this Greater Golem, who are heavily damaged. I expect them to die. I expect the Hellfane to live. And I've got the Chariot for 1 point as well. So I think it's going alright. I'm going to kill things this turn, hopefully, too. Oh, the Golem is dead now. It just hadn't happened yet. So turn 5 for me. My Golems kill the Frostfang Lord and then go into the centre a bit. The half-breeds are just making their way in to get within range of the Dominate zone. Susan attacks this caster to try and stop it casting spells to kill my units. And the Black Souls charge into the Cavern Dweller, I think that one is, just to get them closer to the objective, pretty much. So that'll do. And the Chariot and the Hellfane fight this unit of Draugr up there, but it doesn't look like they actually kill them, which is kind of amusing, although the Hellfane might be attacking this unit. I can't remember anymore. Because its nose has to point that way, I can't remember which way it's actually facing. And in the middle, the Frostfang Lord there that was hanging around, was it still there last turn in a wavered state? Yeah, there it was. So that was killed off. You can see that the half-breed champion finished that off. So it's looking really good points-wise here. Turn 6 for my opponent. Charging into the Ironcaster with Snow Foxes. Can't kill off the Hellfane. Can't kill off my Horde. So if it ends on turn 6, I'm definitely going to win at this point, because there's not much to score in there for the enemy compared to what I've got. Turn 6 for me. Hellfane. Chariot. The half-breeds. Combined, they kill off those two regiments of Draugr. The Black Souls don't plough through the Cavern Dweller. The Golems get into the zone. The half-breed champ attacks the Snow Foxes, doesn't kill them. Basusu doesn't kill that hero. And are we going to get a turn 7? No, we are not. So that is the end of the game. So it's a win for the Abyssal Dwarfs. Maximum victory points scored, I think. And +4 for kill points out of 5. So if I'd killed the Cavern Dweller, I think it would have been maximum points. If I'd killed the Snow Foxes, it would have been maximum points. Or if I'd killed the hero with Susan, it would have been maximum points. But there's another hero there as well. So there's just enough to deprive me of 1 point. So that was a 19, that one. So a nice win there. And on to game 3. So, against Salamanders. Well, you know what? What did I learn from that game? Not to rely on mortars and to just rely on what Abyssal Dwarfs do well, which is fight. I think that's fair. Mortars didn't really do a lot, and everything else did. So Salamanders, here's the list. Ancients, 2 regiments. Now I'm going to lose track of which unit is which, because a lot of the infantry units look very similar. Salamander Ceremonial Guard, 2 Ancient regiments, and a Horde of Ceremonial Guard. Fire Elemental Horde, Scorch Wings with Staying Stone, Rhinosaur Cavalry, Ember Sprites that are just the little chaff units, Greater Fire Elemental, Lechelidon, which is a shooty dinosaur, Phoenix for healing and Radiance of Life, a Mage Priest with Surge, and Bane Chant, which is useful against my army, Gekota on Scorchwing, Firebrand, who's a little shooty hero, I think, but it's good in combat as well, Corsairs, regiment of those, and Artaki, who is a duelist individual. And there's the formation, the Whispering Scales, which are Salamander Primes, 2 regiments, and a Battle Captain. So they lower their defense and get Crushing Strength, I think. So I'm going to lose track of which regiment of lizards is which one, but they're not hugely different anyway, I think. So, the scenario for this game. Let's see if I can remember. So this one is push. So, what do I want to achieve in push? Obviously, I want to get close to the enemy. I want to get into the enemy half. My army's slow, not great at that. I want to get into the enemy half with the tokens. So I've got 2 tokens here on my golems. My opponent's got 2 tokens on one of the regiments of lizards over there. And there's 1 in the centre. So if you hold a token on your opponent's half, it's worth double. So obviously I'm going to ignore that side, put everything in the centre, fight over that, get 3 points into the enemy half and win. Simple, surely. You would think. So, the Rhinosaur Cavalry out there on the flank. There's the Scorchwings, there's the Scorchwing Hero, the Lechelidon. I think those are the Corsairs with the pistols there, with Firebrand. There's the Fire Elementals, the Greater Elemental. And this regiment here has Phalanx, so I won't have my Thunderous Charge against them. And Cavalry and Heavy Cavalry will be at -1 to hit as well. I believe that is correct. And there's lots of scouting, so a lot of these units have scouted up. I've got my 2 mortars out on this flank. Everything else is pretty much in the middle, in a big blob. Big wall of defense 6 across here, flanked by Grotesques and Black Souls. Half-breeds behind, Decimators behind, Gargoyles behind, so they don't get shot off. And Susan a little bit out on the left on her own there. So those are the scout moves. You'll notice that the Grotesques aren't deployed right up to the edge. That's because I didn't want them to be charged by anything in turn 1 with scout moves, because they're not quite as hardy as these things, the defense 6 ones, so I don't care if anyone charges them with a scout move. That's crazy talk. Okay, so the plan is push into the centre, tokens on golems, and just dominate this area here. Use my cavalry and Black Souls to prevent these faster units from flanking into the main force. And over here, ignore any units that push into my half with tokens, because they can't abandon the tokens and come and join in the fight. That would be crazy, so I'll just let them take themselves out the game. And ignore them completely, use gargoyles maybe to pin them if they decide to turn and come back into the fight later. So turn 1, which on this occasion, you'll notice, seems to go to me. Wild, isn't it? So, and everything's advanced up, staying out of charge range with things that don't want to be charged, obviously, which isn't a lot, because the only things that can really charge them are going to be these little Ember Sprites, which are going to do absolutely nothing. They're just going to box in my units. And the mortars, I decided to ignore the unit that's carrying the tokens, by the way, because I want them to just spend the whole game pushing forward, fighting mortars, and then not joining in the rest of the game. So I'm going to get a couple of, at least 2 or 3 turns of shooting with them first. Putting wounds onto that horde, I think, is a good start. The Hellfane plinks some shots away at that Ember Sprite unit there. And overall, just a bit of an advance. My army is slow though, obviously. And there's lots of flyers here, there's a flyer here, and one there. So this is the main unit to worry about though. More flyers. Is it more flyers than I've got, or is it equal? More flying units that can actually do anything, I would say, because the gargoyles are just there to block people off. Turn 1 for my opponent. So, moves up, can't get into range to not be mortared yet. But again, I'm probably not going to bother mortaring them. Just going to let them come down here, spend a bit of time doing that. And they're kind of encircling with the cavalry there, but I've got plans. Susan is observing from here, by the way. So Susan can just attack something and get in front of it if I need to block them off for a turn. And if Susan attacks something, she's likely to take away its thunderous charge as well. In the middle, I've pushed forwards quite a few units who are now getting shot up. You can see here, 9 damage onto the Black Souls. And one of the units of gargoyles was killed despite having cover because they were shooting from the hill. But I think the Ember Sprites have a shooting attack. I think that's what took them out. Turn 2 for me. The mortars decide to target things at the back, so at the Phoenix. Doesn't do enough though. And did I charge that unit last turn? No, it was this turn only. So I charged into this unit here, this infantry regiment, to block them in so I can advance without worrying about every single unit in the game. And the Greater Golem takes out the Ember Sprites in the woods. I put Susan behind there, safe from everybody, so she can just pick and choose where she's going to charge next turn. And a slightly blurry wide shot there, but you get the idea. I've not moved up into range of the Rhinosaur cavalry. The Scorchwings can charge if they want, but their shooting seems to be quite effective. I've got my cavalry hiding so they can't be charged. And just a bit of a solid block in the middle. I think those Ember Sprites have picked up the token, by the way, so I'm going to have to take that off them. So, in the next turn, turn 2, so the big horde of infantry and the Greater Fire Elemental charge into my Greater Obsidian Golem. The Corsairs and the Fire Elementals charge into these golems carrying the tokens. And the Ember Sprites charge into those golems just to block them off, stop them flanking that unit. And everyone else advances up just behind the lines, ready to join in the fight. I'm fairly happy though, I've got a pretty solid defensive lineup. I've got rallying here as well. That Radiance of Life is going to help if I survive these fights, which I would certainly hope to. And over here you can see actually that the Half-Breed Champion gets double charged there by the unit and by this thing. I can't remember what that is. Just going to be honest with you. These gargoyles did not get shot off last time, so what they're doing is positioning themselves to threaten that unit. So that now they are turning so that they can't be flanked by them. So giving them something to think about. My Black Souls have been shot off though by the Scorchwings and the Lachilodon. But this unit wants to go and hunt mortars really. And now that the gargoyles have given them a second thought, they've turned to face this way a little bit. But the gargoyles do get shot off this time by that guy. And the Greater Obsidian Golem is killed as well, which is not too great. I think those guys have got a lot of crushing strength though, and Bane Chant, so it's not that surprising. The Half-Breed Champion does not die. Golems do not die, which is nice. So I've just lost one unit there, but I'm in amongst the enemy now, and I've got charge options. So turn 3, the Grotesques decide to take on this unit, this horde, because they're right there. And that's all they can do because they advanced and got right in their face. So they take that on. The Hellfane takes on the infantry unit there. The Half-Breed Champ goes back into there, hoping to finish them off. I think they did take wounds. I don't know if they've healed them back. In the centre, well, what was going on in the centre before? Okay, there were all these units there. What is left now? Those units are dead. So there was infantry, There were fire elementals. The ember sprites are gone as well. The chariot saw to that. This unit's still there with the Hellfane fighting them. So cleared that out. And the golems have dropped the tokens now. I think I've put them down here because the golems are almost dead. So they don't want anyone who kills them to just automatically pick up the tokens. So I think that's what I chose to do there. Susan tried to finish off the Scorchwings, who were already damaged, but could not finish them off, sadly. So they're still in the game. Turn 3. So the Scorchwings and Scorchwing Hero charge into the half-breeds. The infantry regiment from up here charge into... Let's see exactly where they were. There they were. They charge into the golems, ignoring the chariot. The token-carrying unit go after the mortar, one of them at least. And the golems are going to survive. The Hellfane should survive that as well. Grotesques might not survive this triple charge here. Mortar is only wavered, which is cool because it blocks them for a turn now, holds them up. But, alas, it was this one that got wavered. So that one got shot and wavered, this one did actually get killed. So this one wavering though, instead of dying, means that that unit has to stay there to fight it. So they can't turn around and join in the game at all, which might be what they want because they're carrying tokens. But again, my plan doesn't require them to die. Okay, in the centre, the Grotesques die. So, yeah, I think I should have dealt with this unit a bit better, not fed it things. The half-breed champion gets wavered, which he's good at getting wavered. It keeps things blocked in nicely there. Hellfane is going to be fine. The golems are here, that were here have died, so they've dropped the tokens. The half-breeds do not die, which is very nice. So, turn 4. The decimators pick up the tokens that the golems dropped. The half-breeds charge into the Scorchwing Hero. Chariots and the golems and the Hellfane have now totally cleared off this hill. So what was on there? There was a unit there, and there was a unit there. So those two units are now dead. 2 infantry regiments down. And these guys have picked up the center token now, so I'm holding more tokens than my opponent, but I'm still losing 4-3 because my opponent's tokens are of course doubling in value because they're in my half over there. But I'm quite confident I can march forward with them. However, one flaw in this plan so far is that Susan really rolled badly against the Scorchwings, attacking them again. So on average, I believe should have finished them off this turn. However, she didn't, which means that they're now free to charge the flank of my decimators, who could have avoided this fate entirely, but I was so confident they were going to die, I didn't even factor them into my positioning, which is obviously a mistake, because when they picked up the token, they could have just pointed themselves this way instead, and made sure it was in the front, but they are giving up the flank. But even then, the Scorchwings aren't that amazing in combat, so they're undamaged, so they would hope to still survive that. It's just they're going to take more damage than I wanted, out of laziness. So turn 4, Scorchwings into the flank. They don't have a huge amount of attacks though, as I said, and they don't have much crushing. Phoenix decides to go into the other flank, because obviously not totally confident Scorchwings will do it all on their own, and thought it was a good chance to try and kill the unit. Hellfane gets charged. I think this is the god character, but I have no idea what this one does. I barely paid attention to other people's gods in this event. So the duelist character is fighting Susan there, I think. Is she going to pay the price for not killing Scorchwings? Is that the Rhinosaur cavalry there? Yeah, they flank charged the half-breeds there, by the looks of it. So they're going to kill them. And look at this. So 18 wounds, and I think they were all done by the Scorchwings, who hit with almost all their attacks, and then wounded with most of them as well. I think they were wounding on 4s, but still managed to get maybe even about double what you'd expect to do. So that unit of decimators is dead. Scorchwings have stolen the tokens. So the mistake of not pivoting them to face slightly there, and the nice above average attack roll for the Scorchwings kills the Decimators. So now we're going to have to get the tokens back from that unit. If I can't steal them, I can kill the unit, hope no one picks them up, kill anyone that picks them up, and get this unit into my opponent's half. And that would make it a draw at that point. So here there's a bit of damage done to the Hellfane, not enough yet. Both mortars are now dead. The Half-Breed Champion is dead now after holding up this unit for a while. That's how the centre is looking. So it's not looking particularly healthy after that unit dies. So before that point I was feeling very confident that this was going to be a scenario win. I was struggling to see a way that my opponent could stop what I was doing. Because I wasn't winning the fight particularly, but I was in a good position to hold the tokens, which would have led to a nice draw if I was holding these two in my own half and holding this one in the enemy half, which was kind of my plan at that stage. Turn 5, so charging into the Phoenix, not doing much. Hellfane into them, doing a bit, not enough. Mortar does not much again. So yeah, a lot of nothing being accomplished at the moment, and that unit of Decimators dying is really crippling my army now because I'm getting flanked from all sides. The Scorchwings, I think at least, did they do the courtesy of dying in that turn? I think they did. I can't remember what killed them. The mortar might have actually finished them off, to be fair. I'm not sure. But they still died regardless. But obviously they should have died before then, which is what led to the downfall of the Decimators. So really it was Susan's failure to kill them that was the downfall. So my chariot is being attacked by the god. So my chariot picked up that token that the golems dropped so they could then attack the Phoenix. And yeah, so there's not many units left for me. There's no way I'm going to be able to win now. The Hellfane gets double 1, but it's not a real double 1. I mean, look at it. It's not taking that much damage. And yeah, it's not looking healthy at all. There's not much commentary to be made at this point because I don't have enough units left to really accomplish things in the game. Though I have killed that unit now that were carrying the tokens, so they're on the ground. But this guy needs to be in the opponent's half or pick up those tokens. If he just picks them up, I'm still losing. That's the thing. Because they're in my half, so they're not going to be worth double. So there's not a lot I can really do at this point. So one thing I could have considered at this stage was moving my mortars so that maybe they could have a chance to shoot down the unit that was holding the tokens in that corner. But I think they were too far away, potentially. And yeah, that is the end. It ends on turn 6. So very disappointing. Trying to get a scenario draw with the Decimators holding those tokens there. The scout moves of my opponent obviously give them a little bit of an edge on this scenario because you want to get tokens into your opponent's half and you get a chance to do that pretty fast with scout. My army is very slow. Too slow as I'm learning, but if you're going to be slow you have to be tough, and because of the Decimators being in there and the mortars who are useless for scenario purposes, then I don't think it does enough for its slowness. I think if you're going to be slow you want to be a golem. You don't want to be a decimator or a mortar. So, on to the next round. So that was a loss as well. And again, the mortars don't really wow me, considering the amount I spent on them. So, the amount of points you spend on 4 mortars, you could buy 2 hordes of obsidian golems. I know what looks more terrifying on the table, it's definitely the golems. And I think I would have stood a much better chance in all of my games so far if those 2 extra hordes of golems were in there. Obviously I don't own those units, so if I wasn't going to paint more, then I could ally in vaguely equivalent units that fill a similar role. So things like goblin troll units, for instance. Or if I was allying in Night Stalkers, things like butchers. So just a pretty tough, meaty, fighty unit. I think I could have done with more of those at this point level. Also more manoeuvrability, but the dragon in the Abyssal Dwarf list. I don't consider that optimal, as I've said. So in this game, I'm against the Herd, and the scenario is... Let me just check the name of it. I think it's Plunder, though. Double checking here. And it is. So it's Plunder, meaning there are 5 tokens in a line down the centre. 2 of them are going to be worth 2 points if you pick them up and hold them at the end, and the other 3 are worth 1. And you take it in turns picking one that's going to be worth 2. So I set up mostly on this side. So I picked one of the tokens that was going to be worth 2. Here, my opponent picked that one. So that means 2 of them on this side are worth 2. So I've set up most of my stuff down here to try and go for them. I'm not going to try too much to get those objectives if my opponent wants them. The gargoyles are there though, so if I get the chance to jump on them, I can just scoop them up. So what is the deployment looking like? We've got 2 beasts of nature there. And there they are. And this is really simple. So lots of forest shamblers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 regiments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hordes. A great chieftain, 3 tree herders to surge the forest shamblers. So, lots of forest shamblers. What's the unit strength total? 30, so significantly higher than mine. Doesn't really matter for this scenario as much. Total unit's 16, so a bit less than mine. But they're all pretty powerful, tough units. Not a huge amount of crushing strength to go around, apart from the tree herders. But they are a pretty scary prospect, I think. So I've got a mortar on this side. Got golems on that side of the impassable terrain. I've got my 2 titans with strider in the difficult terrain in case they have to charge through it. Because my opponent's army, I think everything has scout almost. So we'll see what that does in a minute. I've just got a decent sized blob there. Anything that I don't want to be charged in the first turn obviously is hiding because there is scout moves, so the grotesques aren't on the front line. And after the scout moves, look how close it is now. So halfway across the table, shambling units making a full at the double move as a scout move, which is obviously tasty. So they're right in my face before turn 1's even happened. Turn 1, my opponent gets it and goes for some charges. And I was obviously willing to accept some charges, which is why I deployed my defense 6 units right on the line. So tree herder, 2 regiments of shamblers into this horde. Tree herder into the greater golem. Regiment of shamblers into this horde of golems there. And this regiment into the Hellfane, who's turned sideways to get his nose out of combat. And really, they're obviously not going to win this fight if that's all they're sending in. But they don't care, because this is a scenario where you just have to walk to the middle, pick up tokens, and then not die. So they're going to pick up the tokens, turn around, and start running away from me. And they've boxed in all my units. So unless I can punch through really fast and chase after them, my really slow army is going to struggle to catch them. There was a very similar game to this I played at a tournament years ago against Ratkin, and what happened was 2 big hordes of rats picked up all the tokens and then ran away while everything else in my army was chaffed up, and it took me to turn 7 to chase them down and kill them and steal the tokens off them, so I did end up winning that one. So it's a risk, because you're taking units out of the game if they're just picking up tokens and running away. So you're more likely to lose the fight under those circumstances. So if the game does go to turn 7, that's occasionally when you get caught. So we'll see. You can see units picking up tokens in the middle because they were already in the middle basically, so they've picked them up and turned. So next turn they can turn again and start walking backwards with them, because I'm not going to punch through this lot so fast, and there's more to come in and push up against my lines as well to block me in. Don't need all of them to run away. So what am I going to do with my turn then? Because there's been bits of damage been dealt out, but not a huge amount. Even they are okay. My turn 1. So the mortar, and those mortars, and this mortar all shoot, and they do actually do something for a change. So they kill off, it's this unit here that's holding a token. This horde that are on the hill, which is why everyone can see them. So that unit is dead. So the mortars finally do something, which is nice. And I also kill off 3 regiments that were blocking me in as well. So that one, and that one, and that one. So I'm working my way through, but again, it needs to be fast. And I've been doing damage to these units. Can I do it fast enough? The god of my opponent's army is I think it's the Vicious Aura, decently fighty one that flies, flying chariot there. So Susan charges into a Beast of Nature, does a bit of damage to it. Because I think Susan's got a decent chance at beating it. Because that's the only reason I'm doing it, and there's nothing else that can attack her to join in. So why not try and get rid of an enemy flyer by striking first? Sounds good to me. So the other one charges into the grotesques along with the god. Over here we've got this horde into my horde of golems. If they get into a grind, that suits my opponent because he can run away with the tokens while this fight's going on. Same for the centre, more things are piling in, just blocking me up. And Susan is countercharged. So this guy actually managed to flank charge the Hellfane because he was here. Or here, should I say. Hellfane can... See, backs up an inch, turns sideways into the flank of the Hellfane. These guys just have to move a bit, and then they can be surged into the front by another tree herder. Those guys into there, into my greater golem, and then the surge into the front of the Hellfane, which is the front even though it looks like the flank because it knows doesn't want to get in combat. So that's not good for the Hellfane, but it's not the worst. I'm still confident I'm going to win this fight overall. But am I going to chase down the units with tokens in time? That is the more important question. So the Hellfane takes quite a bit of damage, but does not die, despite the flank charge from a tree herder. The tree herder there does not kill the half-breeds. The grotesques get wavered. I told you they're good at that. Susan takes a bit of damage, but doesn't die. It's a nice upside-down pictures here showing that lots of damage was done, but nothing was killed. Turn 2 for me. Can I kill anything? Some damage done there, but not too much. The Hellfane charges into this unit to try and finish it off, I think, but doesn't kill it, meaning the flank's still exposed to the tree herder. And the decimators try to scorch the tree herder, who's in the trees, so he has cover, and takes some wounds though, because they are elite and vicious with shooting, so they do a fair bit. Some of the forest shamblers are dead here. Plinking up damage. So I've got these units heavily wounded, but not killing too many of them. Grotesques can't do much. Susan does a bit more to them. The gargoyles move on to the objective there. They're just going to work their way across and pick up objectives for the rest of the game, hopefully, and not get too bothered by anybody. Turn 3 for my opponent. So before that, how is it looking? Well, my opponent is moving away with that objective, moving to get that one, and then run away. This one is still up for grabs, because the unit that was carrying it died, so somebody else is going to have to go and pick that up. But the ones that are worth 2 are that one and that one. So if you hold those 2, you win. So if this unit gets both those and runs away, it wins. Simple as that. So, turn 3, and everyone piling back in again into combat. They're going back into the grotesques. Forest Shamblers back into the Black Souls, Tree Herder into the Half-Breeds, Tree Herder into the Golems, Forest Shambler Horde into the Greater Obsidian Golem, these two into the Hellfane again, and this Horde into my Golems again. And I've got, what was there? The Gargoyles, I think, charged him. So he killed them. So they're dead now. Let's see, the Hellfane is being removed. Look at that human hand. So Hellfane's dead. The half-breeds are dead. And who is next to them? Let's just go back. The Golems. So they are also dead. So I'm starting to lose units now. And suddenly it's not looking as healthy. They're still alive. Grotesques are dead, meaning the Beast of Nature can now turn round. And the God can turn round as well. So suddenly, it's not looking too great. However, arguably that's the important bit there, because if I kill that horde and then push through to chase down that horde, that could be crucial. So what I need to do, I need to clear out the middle really quick, so I can start chasing that unit. Susan got wavered as well, as a result of the Beast of Nature, which isn't ideal. Turn 3 for me. So, back into the Forest Shamblers, get them up to 10, but can't take them out yet. Here, what was there? That was, I think that was another, was that another unit of Forest Shamblers? Who was in front of the Decimators? Was it him? So I think he gets shot down this time then. That Tree Herder. Oh no, the Tree Herder's alive, it's the other unit that's dead. It's the Shamblers there. So he's up to 11 wounds, but he's alive. They are dead. I think it was Mind Fog, actually, that finished them off. So, finally comes in useful. The Golem kills off the unit that were in front of him. The Chariot... Let's see... My Chariot charged into this thing, I think, this Tree Herder. And... let's have a look. So my Gargoyles have picked up the other token now, as well. So, the Half-Breed Champion charged into the God, because I don't want people charging the Gargoyles and making them drop all the tokens. The Black Souls were up against these guys, and they managed to kill them off this round. So they're now able to join in with the fight a bit. And so, with this unit here, I kind of had to turn my back on the Beast of Nature, because even if a frontal charge on Gargoyles kills them regardless. So I might as well turn my back on them. And if they charge, I'm going to drop the tokens, but these tokens aren't going to be important for winning the game anyway, really. And that way, they're not attacking Susan with the Beast of Nature, meaning that Susan can then attack the Beast afterwards. So, if I can tempt the Beast of Nature to attack the Gargoyles and leave Susan alone, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I think the God has been wavered by my Half-Breed Champion. I think it might have been. Turn 4 for my opponent. So, lots of manoeuvring. This guy goes into the flank of the Golems, Shamblers into the front. The Tree Herder goes into the Ironcaster, hoping to kill him and overrun into the Decimators. This Tree Herder into the Obsidian Golem. This Tree Herder goes after the Mortars at the back. And the Beast of Nature decided to attack Susan rather than go for the Gargoyles. Wavers her again, which is annoying. And obviously the Mortar dies. Golem's still alive. The Ironcaster dies, but the Decimators live, as you'd expect. My Golem Horde over on that side is dead now, though. So, how can I possibly chase down that unit with 2 tokens? Well, the only thing I can think of is anything remotely fast is going to start heading over there immediately. So, Chariot, Half-Breed Champion are going to make a beeline in that direction. The Gargoyles can charge the God on Chariot, who's already heavily wounded, and finish that off, hopefully. So, let's have a look. Turn 4. There we go. Chasing them down. These 2 units between them don't have a lot of attacks. But it's something, and I need to get them. I need that unit to die. I need to send after them whatever can physically reach them in time. The Golem puts more wounds onto the Tree Herder. The Decimators kill the Tree Herder that was fighting them on the counter charge. It was already wounded, though. Gargoyles do kill the God Chariot. I think they just did a couple of wounds, but that was enough. They're now holding tokens and fairly free and clear. They can still get charged by the Beast of Nature, but I've got the Black Souls facing this way now. Black Souls want to go and scoop up these 3 tokens, because they can't help chase the other unit, they're too slow. So, the Mortar misses. I was fired that shot into this unit, hoping to soften it up, but missed. So, it's still not looking great, and I'm going to need time to kill that unit, and I don't have a lot of attacks going after it. Turn 5. Forest Shamblers going for the other Mortar there, because obviously just stopping me shooting at the 1 unit that matters right now. This one's going for the other Mortar, so I'm going to lose my Mortars. The Beast of Nature's hoping to kill Susan this time, finally. And this one, is it that one? Yeah, it does kill Susan, turns inwards, joining with the game. Mortar's dead. Tree Herder going after the... Let's see, who is next to them? Okay, so that was the Greater Golem that's now dead. So it's turned to face the Decimators now. Or actually, it's turned to face that way, away from the Decimators, because they can't charge it. But they can still shoot him. Other Mortar dead. So we've lost Mortars. So it's going to be combat that chases down. So, my turn 5, I've got 2 turns to kill that unit. No Mortars. Decimators can't reach in time. Black Souls can't reach in time. So, here's my plan. It's a 2-turn operation. The Gargoyles are going to drop their tokens right there under their unit. The Black Souls are going to go forwards, as far as they can go, pick up those 2 tokens and this one. So they've got 3 tokens staring down the Beast of Nature. The gargoyles, after dropping the tokens, are going to fly 20 inches forwards, pivot that way. So that's turn 5. These two are going to charge that unit that's turned to face them in turn 5. They won't kill it in one round. And it's possible that both of them could die in turn 6 of the herd. So, turn 6, then the gargoyles, from here. My thinking was they'd be able to just charge this unit straight away, but upon reflection later on you'll see that this unit is actually the same height as a hill, so they can't be seen. So we'll see how that part of the plan goes. Turn 5, so double charge in, not doing much though, but it's a start and we've got them in combat, so phase 1. The decimators shoot off the forest shamblers that were in the corner. The plan with the gargoyles dropping the tokens and then the black souls picking them up. There we go. This guy here, this tree herder, is just free and clear at the moment. There's 2 tree herders. There's the horde with all the tokens there. So in terms of a fight, I'm very happy with how it's going, really. I don't have many fighter units left, but I've got enough left to beat what my opponent has left because they're so wounded, some of their units. So the next turn, turn 6, for the herd. The beast of nature goes over here. So this is important because it means the gargoyles have to set up for turn 7 now. So it means I can't sit them on the hill, because then they would get recharged by the beast of nature. It means I have to go beyond the hill and land to get out of the charge range of the beast of nature, which means they won't get thunderous charge. In fact, yeah, that's completely redundant point because they're flies anyway, so they wouldn't get thunderous charge, so forget that bit. And here, you can see this hero is joining in with the fight. They decide to double charge the defense 6 chariot. I would have probably thought that they would double charge the half-breed champion and try and kill that, and then overrun into the chariot, because the half-breed champion's actually got more attacks anyway. But maybe the chariot must have been deemed the bigger threat, I suppose. I don't know, you would have to ask my opponent, who may well be watching this video. This tree herder moves up behind the black souls, which, combined with the beast of nature hiding here, could have put them in a really difficult situation. But because the beast of nature is chasing the gargoyles to try and win the scenario, which isn't actually going to help because I can get far enough away, then I think the beast of nature here would have been really annoying because I would have had to decide who to face. And then pray that I could shoot one of them off. So the chariot does get wavered as a result of that, which means it's not going to be able to fight in turn 6. Yes. Hold on, let me check. So, that was my... Who's turn 6? So this is my opponent's turn 6. Okay, yep, so he gets wavered. And that was the final turn, because, let's see. Okay, did I just totally miss out my turn 6? Did I not take pictures of it, or did I just not take pictures of the dice? I think I just forgot to take pictures of my turn, maybe? Okay, yeah, because you can see where the gargoyles are now. So, yeah, for some reason I didn't take pictures of my turn 6. I think we were getting pretty on for time here, so that's probably why. So, in my turn 6, I put the gargoyles here, in front of that unit. He charged into this unit's flank. Didn't do that much, but chipped away a little bit. And then I needed turn 7, because if it ended on turn 6, this unit just wins the game. However, roll of a 5 means we do get turn 7. So here's turn 7. My opponent, look at that, with a 13-inch wild charge, which is an aura from this guy, who could have moved there to give wild charge to the tree herder, could have potentially charged into the half-breed champion. But 13 inches only takes it to there, which is not quite enough. So, whew. So, this guy decides to attack the half-breed champion. The horde decide to attack the chariot. So this guy can only attack the chariot now. So I think I would have charged the horde of forest shamblers into the half-breed champion. I know you're presenting your rear to the gargoyles, but I think they would kill him. I don't think they would have to worry about not being able to turn around afterwards. So, obviously you could double one him. But they're already on 7 wounds. This guy in the flank and the gargoyles in the front is very dangerous as it is. So I would rather kill him off and take the chance. That's my preference anyway. Because his 6 attacks are actually dangerous attacks, unlike the gargoyles' attacks. So, also the tree herder here goes after my unit that turned to face him in the previous turn. Doesn't kill them, so they're holding all those tokens. Half-breed champion is not killed or wavered, which is important, now he can fight. The chariot is killed by the tree herder though. So, in my turn 6... Okay, there's the damage done there, so that unit's not dead. So my turn 6, all I can do is charge that unit, my turn 7 should I say. So the half-breed champion with 6 attacks in there, 10 attacks from the gargoyles in the front. It's already on 7 wounds. If I can kill them, the gargoyles steal the tokens, and I get a massive win. If I don't kill that unit, I lose. Because my opponent is holding 4 victory points, I'm holding 3. Turn 7. So I don't manage to kill the tree herder, despite getting up to 14. So that's annoying, especially if it costs me a tournament point because of kill points. However, the forest shamblers are dead, so I need to roll 4 twice on the nerves to get rid of them. And I did it. So, gargoyles stole the tokens. It's a win. The gargoyles win the game by killing a unit in turn 7. That was one of the swingiest games that I can remember in some time. There were no truly woeful dice rolls that just horribly let anyone down at crucial moments that I can think of. It was swingy, and there were below average and above average dice rolls, but there was nothing totally obscene that I can remember. It was just one way, then the other. If it had ended on turn 6, obviously it was a loss. I think it was a very difficult scenario for me to play against this opposing list, because they were able to clog up all my battle line and then pick up the objectives and run away. And it was only because I had the chariot and the half-breed champion alive, who were 2 units with speed, and then ultimately the gargoyles, who were not attacked earlier in the game when the opportunity was there. So those 3 units were the only units I had with any speed that had to chase that unit down. And in the end, they did just enough to get rid of them and steal it. So a very close game. And looking at my opponent's play, after he's just complimented my play in the chat there were obviously a few small things that I picked up on during commentary there. A couple of different decisions, but the overall game plan was definitely good. And on the whole, I'd say it was a pretty solid performance. The only minor things, there were a couple of attack choices, which were not to attack the half-breed champion up there. I would have personally attacked him, because he's more dangerous. And that's mainly it. I'm not sure whether there was too much available to actually target the gargoyles that ultimately ended up winning the game. The beasts of nature had a chance to attack them, but chose to attack Susan again. Leaving Basusu alive is not always a wise option, because Susan could have easily done what the gargoyles did. So, yeah, they just wouldn't have been able... Susan wouldn't have been able to pick up tokens, obviously. So, very good game, very close. And on to the next round. So, looking at this list here. 33 unit strength I'm up against. Invade. So, vastly more unit strength than I have. And it's invade. I do not like the sound of that one bit. So, let's have a look what's in this Rift-Forged Orcs list. 2 hordes of legionaries. Brew of Sharpness and Potion of the Caterpillar. Reborn legionaries rather than Rift-Forged legionaries. They could have had more varied names than that, couldn't they? 3 regiments of them. 2 storm giants. Stormforge Shrine, which has a lot of spellcasting, a lot of obscenely powerful spellcasting, but you do pay a lot for it. 3 Orkling regiments, Stormbringer on Winged Slasher, Thonar, who's a very powerful individual, only 170 points. Okay, I felt like I shouldn't complain about Thonar because he must be expensive, but he's actually not expensive at all. Yeah, so his attacks, when they hit on 5s or 6s, I think, they explode and do more hits. And also, after he damages you in combat, you're then -1 to hit him in combat, which is another really good rule. And he can benefit from various spells on offer in the list, which are very easy to get off. There's a lot of dice being thrown at them. So yeah, he's really good for that price. And then a formation with Riftforged Legionaries and Reborn Legionaries. And yeah, just solid heavy infantry. Lots of infantry. Tons of it. How am I going to chew through it all and invade? I better pray that I go first, because if I'm fighting here, I'm not liking my chances. That's a lot of a lot of wounds to get through. There's so many of them, they don't have to offer any flanks to me. And I don't like the idea of beating them in a grind. I don't think that's going to happen. If I stay back and try and mortar them off the table, then they're just going to push it into my half and just win on invade, on an invade basis. So I've got Susan over there to act as a deterrent to these units. If Susan can deter several of them from doing much, then okay, but they may choose to ignore her. Big wall of defense 6 there. And Helfane right out on the flank. I've got my Black Souls there, Decimators behind, Gargoyles sprinkled around the back. Mostly mortars in the middle because I want to shoot the giant over the top of everything else. And you can see the Orklings behind there. So those ones, the 2 Orklings and the 1 regiment, are just going to be able to push into my half and just sit in my half unopposed unless Susan goes after them. Because I can't afford to spread out that much. I just don't have enough bodies. So I'm going to ignore them and hope to try and kill everything else. So if I get turn 1, maybe I could mortar off a giant with a bit of luck. So that's how Susan sees the game. Turn 1. Obviously I do not get turn 1, and the slasher is right up in my face, challenging Susan to make a hindered charge into him. And everything else marching right up. So immediately, if I push up to try and contest the invade line, I'm going to get charged by everything at once. So I can't push up maximum. So we're already going to be fighting further into my half, which is bad. My army's slow, and I've got way lower unit strength than the enemy. So at the moment, I am thinking that I'm probably going to lose the scenario. So I'm going to just try and kill as much as possible, try and efficiently kill things, look for openings, look for flanks, look for any surges, try and just, with surgical precision, try and kill things, focus fire, take things out, see where it leaves me. And if I've got enough units to win the game with, then great. If not, then at least I've killed things. So turn 1 for me, pushing up, try and stay mostly out of charge range. Mortar onto a giant, only do 4 wounds, with all the mortars combined. So, the only thing, I left these 2 hordes in charge range of the giant, because if I sit back, then the enemy can just advance even further and push me back. And the longer the game goes on, the less time I have to chew through all this. So I have to kind of move forward a bit at least. I've stayed out of charge range of that giant though. Just this one can fight, which I'm not too bothered about, just 1 giant. I move Susan between enemy units so she doesn't get attacked, and then she's going to look for where she can help out in a fight. So the giant goes into these golems, these little annoying thingies. Orklings block up the other golems, and the giant has the, what's it called? Is it Cloak of Death? Like the aura that dishes out 1 wound to nearby things, the opposite of Radiance of Life. And Thonar attacks the grotesques. Thonar, whose rules I did not really look at properly. I think last time I faced Thonar, I've only faced him once, but he didn't really have the same impact as he can do. So this giant moves up, ready to strike. So Thonar is blocking them off. The slasher goes into the woods. And The Grotesques take some decent damage, and they get wavered again. Okay, Grotesques, you're not doing your reputation any favours here. I'm already on the fence about their usefulness on their own as just one horde anyway. And I'm thinking if I had more golems, they would probably come in instead for the extra survivability. But the Grotesques definitely aren't bad. They have potentially more damage output, but they do rely on that Thunderous Charge. So these golems take some damage, they're not dead yet. So already completely surrounded, and look at all this nerve and unit strength. Yeah, I'm not confident about this game. I wasn't confident at the army list stage, I wasn't confident at the deployment stage, and I'm definitely not confident now looking at all of it there. So I just need to go in and just kill as much as possible. Block off things I don't want to immediately kill. So, turn 2 for me. Okay, here's one thing I thought was quite good. So, these golems are going to die whichever of these 3 units hits them next. They're already on 7 damage. So why bother trying to keep anything in the front? So the only way these golems can charge the flank of a giant, which is probably the only way I'm going to kill it in this round, is if these golems move back an inch via him moving out the way. They move back, they shuffle sideways as far as they can go. This unit can then, they can see the giant from here, so they can pivot on the spot and charge into its flank. And there's just enough space for them to do it. The gargoyles have to move, the chariot has to move, they have to shuffle sideways. So that's what I did. So this is an example of the kind of things I'm looking for, taking my time, looking for openings, just trying to kill as much as possible in this horrible wall that faces me. And they're going to die regardless next turn because they're already heavily wounded, so why not just throw their lives away a bit to allow the giant to get killed? Because a giant could feasibly take out one of these in one round, so leaving it alive was too risky. Gargoyles putting themselves into the front of that unit to keep them blocked up. Orklings in the flank no one cares about. These gargoyles just holding them back because I've sent my greater golem into this horde there. And doing some damage to them. I would just need to do damage and not get charged with things in multis, preferably. So I've got my Black Souls into this regiment. I've got my Hellfane and my Half-Breeds into the regiment there. So they kill. This is a horde behind there. So the fact that the Black Souls don't kill this unit is good. I didn't think I would kill them in one round. If I did, it probably would have been bad for me, because the Horde would have been able to get into combat faster. As it is, the Horde are blocked in and can't fight anybody at the moment, which is nice. Hellfane's also not that useful in that spot, though. So 6 wounds to that Horde from the Greater Golem. So all in all, I'd say that was a decent start. I've damaged units, and I've deleted some units. I'm going to lose those Golems. So the Slasher is a problem. I didn't see a good way of dealing with that, because it can see all the way across here, it can see loads of flanks. What would I like it to charge? Well, I do not want it to charge the Greater Obsidian Golem. That's the one thing I do not want it charging, because it will kill it with the assistance of this horde. The Grotesques, I think Thonar will kill them anyway, he'll finish them off on his own next round. These golems will get killed by the giant, and maybe this, can that unit reach to join in with Wild Charge, perhaps? They might be able to. So those two could kill them. So I don't want this Slasher to charge the Greater Obsidian Golem. That's the one thing I'm praying does not happen. The gargoyles there could easily get double wand, which would be funny. When I say easily, it's not that likely really, is it? But it's blocking them off, at least. Turn 3. So it goes for the Grotesques, which obviously it's bad because they'll die, but it means he's not going for the Golem, which I'm happy about. So this unit, on Wild Charge, they needed to get 2 or 3 inches on a D3 to make it into this unit. They rolled a 1. My opponent decided to use his once per game tournament reroll on the Wild Charge roll for a 2 out of 3 chance at success, and succeeded, so they made it into combat. Hindered though, but with the giant you would hope that's enough to finish off that unit. Orklings into the flank there, which aren't going to do anything, but it's still worth doing. So regiments of orcs into the flank and the front of the Black Souls. And yeah, these guys just camped in my half, and they're going to score points because I can't afford to chase them. So the Radiance does damage to the Cloak of Death, I should say, does damage to them. And Golems take some damage from the Orklings, which is just funny more than anything else. The other Golems die, as you knew they would. Giant turns to face that way, they turn to face that way. Gargoyles are dead. And the Grotesques are dead, as I expected them to be, regardless of whether the Slasher joined in. So, what am I going to do next turn? Because this Greater Obsidian Golem is still just alive, with all those wounds on him. He would definitely be dead if the Slasher had joined in. And the Black Soul Horde is dead. So, let's have a look at the wide shot. What am I going to do in this position? Because at the moment I'm running out of units that can score. So I think, I already knew I wasn't going to win the scenario very early. But, can I outkill my opponent drastically? So I've got some options here. So I could charge into that horde with the Hellfane and the Half-Breeds. Would they kill it in one go? I have my doubts. They would have a chance, but I don't think they would take it out in one go. It's inspired, I think it's got some rallying on it as well, maybe. So I don't know, I don't think I would do it. And if I don't kill it in one go, suddenly the Half-Breeds get flanked by this regiment. The Horde might be able to take out the Hellfane, because I think they hit on 2s, they've got lots of crush, there's Bane Chant around, so they could definitely do it. So, what I decide to do is keep that unit out of the game, charge them with the Gargoyles, because they're on the hill. Gargoyles are going to charge in there. I can only fit the Half-Breeds into this unit, because the Hellfane can't see them. Half-Breeds in the front, I would hope that's enough to kill them, because they're only a regiment. And if it wasn't enough to kill them, then it definitely wouldn't have been enough to kill off this Horde in the front either. So, down here, the Decimators can shoot at something. I could choose that unit. I could choose the Slasher. I've got all my mortars that are too close to the Slasher to do anything, but they can target this unit. The Golems are going to attack the Giant. I've got the Chariot to attack the flank of the Giant. And Susan can attack this unit on the hill. So that's what I'm going to do. So my turn. So I kill off that unit, that regiment, with the Half-Breeds and with the Half-Breed Champion in the flank, just to make sure. Gargoyles are blocking off the Horde. In the middle, the Decimators shoot up the Slasher, 9 damage, which is reasonable, but don't manage to waver or kill it. And the regiment there is shot down by all the mortars, which is nice. The Giant is not killed by this double charge, but it's heavily wounded now. And Susan does not kill that unit, but she does damage them. So, my opponent sends a Slasher into the Half-Breeds, which is a good idea because they're just a glass cannon. They will die at a stiff breeze. And concurrent viewers, only 2 people have stuck with this on the initial stream. So whoever's still here, I'm very impressed. I'm sure everyone else is going to watch it in full later on, so I'm not going to be too angry at you, as long as you liked the video before leaving. Otherwise you will incur my rage. The Slasher model is actually having to go there because it was falling over on the hill. Thonar goes after the Decimators. Susan is shocked to see this unit turn round and fight her. The Golems are dead. And the Giant then turns round to face the Chariot. So this unit wanted to charge the Chariot. But they couldn't actually do it from their position up there because their pivot was going to touch the Giant first. So they had to shuffle sideways, so next turn they'll be able to attack the Chariot. Susan takes some damage, but not enough to worry her. In the middle here, the Greater Obsidian Golem is dead now, but he's left a heavily wounded unit behind in that spot. Decimators take some wounds from Thonar. So yeah, I don't think I've got enough units left to win the game currently. So, the Gargoyles are dead, as you'd expect. My turn. So, the Giant is dead, finished off by the Chariot, who then turns to face that unit. My 3 mortars, who are upside down, kill off the... who's on a hill? Kill off that unit that Susan was fighting, which is nice. Susan was then able to team up with the Half-Breed Champion to kill this Horde. So, from over there and there. So Susan backed up an inch and she could just see the Horde past the hill there. Or actually, her centre point, leader point, was actually on the hill still, so that's why she was able to see over this bit to see them. So double charged, and they are killed, which is a lot of unit strength dead there, so that's nice. Thonar takes some wounds and gets wavered, but I think he's got Fury because of this thing nearby. The half-breeds, by the way, only got wavered last turn, which is fortunate, but 10 attacks and it did 9 wounds. I think it's 10 attacks on the slasher. Can't argue with that. So these guys are just repositioning a bit, still in my half, still going to score, still going to win the game. Turn 5 for the Orcs now. And Thonar back into the Decimators. Chariot is attacked by Orklings and this regiment. Slasher and the Horde go into the half-breeds. And these guys are just consolidating in my half. At this point I'm thinking, could I have maybe taken out that Horde with the half-breeds and the Hellfane, and then charged that unit in the flank with the half-breed champion and the Gargoyles? I don't think that would have been enough to kill them though. Gargoyles, pretty poor. I don't think they would have killed the regiment. That would have led to the death of the half-breeds. But I did have a chance to kill the Horde with these 2 units. I just don't think it was big enough to warrant doing it. And over here, the Chariot is dead. Decimators are wavered. Half-breeds are dead. So they turn around to face the Hellfane. And there we go at the moment. So definitely I'm not going to win. So I've only got a couple of scoring units left. Turn 5. So the mortars. They kill off... Who do they kill off? What was there? Was it? Oh, it's the slasher. So they killed off the slasher. Finished off the slasher. So the mortars actually did a decent job in this game. Hellfane charges in there. Susan and Half-breed champion charging. 17 damage, but can't roll enough on the nerve check to kill them. I already used my tournament reroll to kill off the regiment that was here when the half-breeds were attacking them. That's how I used my tournament reroll to finish off that unit. So I don't have it anymore, and it's not looking great. Turn 6, that's dead, it's just I've run out of space in the pile I was using for corpses. Turn 6, Orklings into the mortar. These decide to attack. They decide to attack Susan, and these Orklings are just sitting in my half. Decimators are dead, Thonar finishes them off. Susan is dead, but they elect not to overrun into the half-breed champion, which I'm sure you can still do even if the individual is mighty. Am I wrong? They decide to turn around instead and look at the Hellfane, because otherwise it would just charge them in the rear next time. Mortar takes some damage, doesn't die. My turn 6. Hellfane finishes off the Horde, then shuffles sideways to try and get me a victory point. Thonar is not killed by the half-breed champion. And really I'm just trying to kill stuff, which I've been doing since turn 1 really. We do get a turn 7, so the Orcs try and kill the half-breed champion, don't do it, kill a mortar. And in my turn 7, the Hellfane just goes to get me a victory point and therefore an extra tournament point. And still can't kill Thonar even though I've got him up to 10. And the mortars fail to kill the shrine. So there's quite a few Orcs still alive, and they definitely win the scenario. It's clear they were going to win the scenario immediately as soon as the game started, in my brain at least. But I think I did a decent job grinding through everything that was in front of me here. Maybe not perfect, but decent. And I got a decent number of kill points. So I scored a few points for that game despite the loss. And there we go, so 2 wins, 3 losses. I think my list was bad for 3,000 points, considering the field was very strong for this event. And some of the pure filth lists, I don't think the list I chose was ever going to stand up to them. I don't think mortars do enough. I don't think my list was particularly manoeuvrable when you have lists made up of an awful lot of flyers that were out there, some of which I didn't play against, thankfully. The lists that I thought I would do well against, I didn't really see any, to be honest. There weren't too many that I thought, yes, that's the kind of thing I want to face. Maybe the salamander list that I did actually face in game 3 was one that I thought I had a chance against. But I think there was just one bad luck moment in that I allowed to be the downfall of my force there, by not preparing for the eventuality of failure on that occasion. And yeah, what would I have liked to have come up against with this army? Ogres, anything that's tall and I can just shoot them with my mortars and their nerve isn't that high. Ogres with no healing, I would have liked. So I think the Varangur list that I did face was probably the closest thing to that. That had a lot of things that I could shoot at over the top of other units. It had lots of medium nerve units in there. Had some high nerve in there as well, but mostly medium. So that's what I feel like I could do well against. I think I just needed more. Needed to take out the mortars and the decimators. If I lost the 4 mortars and the horde of decimators, if I'd felt like painting, I could have fit in 3 more golem hordes and another spellcaster. Maybe a hexcaster with weakness to make everything more survivable. Maybe another ironcaster with like a boosted heal, so I can be healing and using Radiance of Life, and I would have 2 of them for using Surge. So I think I could have made a really good list if I felt like buying and painting more obsidian golems. I could have brought in some allies, could have brought in some trolls. I think I just needed more, basically. More killer units, more fighter units, more scoring units, higher unit strength. More. A lot of the scenarios required me to move forwards, and that just meant that I was down on points when it came to the fight because the mortars weren't contributing, and I was fighting things that I would ideally like to be shooting at from long range. It didn't help the fact that I lost most of the turn 1 roll-offs as well, particularly in games where I then had the enemy right in my face on turn 1 and 2. I could have deployed further back, but again, on most of the scenarios I was having to move forwards to score. We didn't get any of the scenarios where you can actually win by keeping most things back. I'm thinking Control, where it's divided into 6 sections. You don't have to advance too far out for that. Maybe 1 or 2 units at the end of the game you can jump into another zone. But if you hold your own zones, you're at minimum getting a draw. So that's one way you can sit back a little bit. Kill. I think I would have done well on that, but tournaments generally don't use kill, and I'm not in favour of them using it, for the record. So yeah, I don't think I picked a very good scenario army, or an army that was going to thrive against the environment at this tournament for the points level. But you know what? Some very fun games, fun opponents, and who wouldn't want to try out 4 mortars? Got to try it once, haven't you? So the next tournament is in less than a week, and I'm taking Night Stalkers to that one, 2,500 points. I don't have that many points, so I'm going to ally in some Abyssal Dwarfs, actually. So you'll see a bit more Abyssal Dwarf action next week, but mostly Night Stalker action. Looking forward to that one. There was a Dead Zone tournament the week after that, but that's been cancelled because of lack of interest. Only 5 tickets were sold, apparently, so that's been cancelled, which is very annoying. And after that, there's the Dead Zone UK Championships in early September. Then there is an Age of Sigmar tournament, which is the first singles Age of Sigmar tournament that I've signed up for, which is towards the end of September, I think. So that's going to be interesting. I still need to figure out if I want to paint anything for that, or whether I'm just going to take things from my existing collection, which maybe isn't the most competitive. Not like I'm going to win anyway, with my lack of competitive gaming experience for that system. So, I think it's about time to wrap this video up. If you've got any thoughts on my list, my scathing criticism of mortars and decimators that are too slow and too short range and too expensive, then feel free to throw in your critique. If there's anything you would have done differently in the games, throw that in as well. Anything you think my opponents should have done differently, throw that in. If you want to also complain about the length of the Hellfane's nose, that's making me sorely tempted to just chop its head off and then magnetise his head back on again, so that I can take it off when it goes into combat. If you want to complain about Mantic making models too big for their bases, feel free to do that in the comments as well. Don't forget to like the video, don't forget to subscribe, check out all the links in the description, of course, including throwing all your life savings at me, because for I am poor, of course, so if you fling all your life savings at me, the more tournaments I can go to, the more reports I can make, the more valid, or in this tournament's case, maybe not so sound tactical insight that can be thrust in your direction via the power of the internet. I can continue to act as the tactical lighthouse, guiding you away from the murky seas of tactical inadequacy and towards the... you get the idea. Give me your money, basically. Follow me on Twitter. There's Andy2D6 Instagram as well, where you can see pictures of stuff, miniatures I've painted, or even cakes that I've made, among other things. And yeah, hopefully the Andy and Rem show will be back soon as well, because Rem has got some free time coming up, I'm led to believe. He's been doing lots of international music touring, which is why there haven't been any shows for the last few weeks. So it's not just laziness on our part. So with that, it is time to wrap this one up. So let's have another look at the thumbnail there. So this guy, Charnox, didn't do very well as a mortar, but if I stick him in the middle of a unit, maybe he will do the job. If I want to play with Abyssal Dwarfs again, which I'm sure I will at some point because they're really nice, then I may well get some more golems. I think that's what I'm lacking at the moment. Having only 2 hordes, even at 2,000 points, I don't think 2 hordes is enough, really. So, all that remains to be said now is, good night out there, whatever you are.